Greetings, this is Sean, and today I'm going to show how to make those sanding pens that I've had people ask me about. They're really actually quite simple. That's the pattern for them, which I've left a link in the description below so that you can download a copy of it. Unfortunately, I did not come up with this idea, but a wonderful guy by the name of Steve Good came up with it, and I'm using his pattern, so I've got a link to his website where you can download a copy of this pattern. There's actually a second pattern too for another kind that's a little bit smaller than this one, but I don't like the way it works personally, so I always use this one here. Anyway, I'm in my wood shop right now, and this saw that I'm on is actually, it's like a jigsaw that's turned upside down. The blade comes up from the bottom of it, and that piece you see up there at the top that is actually what holds the wood down on the table so that it doesn't jump up and around, which I really like this saw. It's a really well-made saw. Anyway, here I've got a piece of curly maple pine wood that I picked up at Lowe's. It's 1/4 inch thick, and I'm just going to cut through a piece of it that's wide enough for that pattern to fit on. Now I have to hold the table, unfortunately, because I don't have my saw is not secured to the table, so I've got to hold it so it doesn't move around too much. Anyway, the piece of wood that I have here is big enough for 2 pieces, so I'm actually going to be cutting through 2 pieces of this plywood here to make 2 of these pens at the same time. So I'm just kind of getting it all lined up here and ready to cut it into 2 pieces. Most of this video is going to be done in real time, although I did speed through a few of the sections only because, like, I forgot to change out the blade on this saw, and it's a metal blade and it just took a long time to cut through. It was kind of dull also, so I just kind of sped through a few of these little things right here, as you can tell. And here I'm just getting 2 pieces of wood that are the same length, same width, and I am going to glue them together in a manner of speaking. What I'm doing is I'm looking for my painter's tape, and it's actually right in front of me behind the table saw there, or the saw there. And what I'm going to do, I was going to use the inch wide, but it wasn't wide enough. You want to cover both pieces of wood with the painter's tape, and then you glue them together so that the glue doesn't actually stick to the wood, it sticks to the tape. And that way you're able to peel the tape off, and you don't have to worry about sanding the glue off or trying to get the 2 pieces apart from each other, and just makes it a little bit easier. And I actually could have saved a few steps here and taped both pieces together, but I just wanted to show you this little technique. I'm not sure if any of you have seen this or not, but I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of it. Anyway, I'm looking for my glue, and it's just right there. I use stick glue. This is a regular stick glue. The purple turns, goes away on this particular kind. The purple goes away when it's dry, so the purple doesn't stay on this one, which is kind of helpful. But anyway, all I'm doing right now is just gluing those 2 pieces together like that. And then, well, self-explanatory. Pressing firmly just to make sure it's nice, and I'm also checking to make sure it's all square. The ends there, I like to keep long, that way it's easy to get a hold of to try and separate the 2 pieces once I'm done cutting the wood. And then what I do is I take another piece of tape, excuse me, and I'll wrap it around both pieces. One to act as a clamp to hold the 2 pieces together while it's drying, which, like I said, I didn't really need to tape it. I could have just went ahead and did this step here but the gluing it actually gives an extra added security so that the pieces inside don't slip apart while cutting. But I could have, this is such a simple cut, I could have just did this step here and not bothered with gluing the two pieces together. But anyway, this also gives a taped surface for me to be able to attach the pattern to while cutting, so that I'm not gluing the pattern to the wood itself as well. And I always put the glue on the paper rather than on the tape, but I started to, and then I realized, oh wait, I gotta do it this way now. So anyway, you can never have too much glue. So anyway, I'm just centering that, and I'll be waiting for a few minutes for it to actually dry, and cure, so that the paper doesn't come up while I'm scroll sawing. So here I am at my scroll saw, and yeah, that's me in my pajamas. No, in my comfy clothes. Anyway, basically you follow the pattern. You go around that mark that I was pointing at there. It's just a slot that I will cut out at the very end to, well, you'll see. It's where you put the paper, where you insert the sandpaper. So, and yes, I am wearing safety glasses. The glasses that I wear are actually safety glasses, so don't be concerned about that. And basically I'm just following the line, trick cutting around. One thing that's really important is to hold on to your work while you are scroll sawing. Otherwise that happens. And it's scary when that happens, but a lot of times that happens to me when I sneeze. I'll sneeze or something like that, but that didn't. I just accidentally let go. I need to get a new blade put on there. And then there it happened again because I was trying to get that little light. It's a little light, but it doesn't work, and it was in my way, and I tried to move it out of the way while it was working. And so anyway, that's the only time I goof, is when I do stupid stuff like that. And every once in a while you'll see me blowing away. Most scroll saws have a blower that blow the sawdust out of the way. Mine's broken, so I have to do it, every so often I will blow a stream of air out of my mouth and blow the sawdust away. So anyway, here I am, just like I say, cutting the pattern out, real simple. I need to replace my blade. It's kind of dull. I should be cutting a lot better than that. So, and here I kind of went off the line, but that's okay. It's okay. Usually you want a nice square, and you don't want it to be too pointed. So I'm going to correct that here. The good thing about this pattern is it lends itself to being. Oh, here I am cutting the slot for the sandpaper to go in, but it lends itself to being adaptable. You can make it shorter if you want it to. You can make it longer if you wanted to. You can make it a square tip, a round tip, but it's just a basic pattern. And so anyway, here I am just making sure there was a little bit of sawdust in their groove, so I went through it again and made sure that I got a nice cut on that groove there for the sandpaper, which you'll see. I'll show that later. What I don't show there, I'm separating. And actually, the glue hadn't completely dried yet on the inside, so it actually came apart very easily. But usually, those two pieces of tape are glued together, and I have to, separate them apart. Which I was hoping that would have happened, so I could show you how to separate that, but got lucky. Anyway, something I don't show here, which I did off camera, was I sanded on my belt sander. I sanded the tips a little bit squarer. Here I'm going to cut them using the scroll saw, which I should have done before I separated the two, but it's no big deal. See, that's too fine of a point, and I found that if that point is really, really fine, come to a fine point, then your sandpaper has a tendency to cut a break a lot easier doing it that way. So kind of round them off or square them off so that you don't have such a fine point in your sandpaper will last longer. So anyway, here I am showing how to use it, how to put it together. If you're going to use scissors to cut sandpaper, make sure they're a really good, durable kind, or better yet, an old pair that you don't mind getting ruined, because the sandpaper can dull your scissors really, really easily. So here I am. Those are a really strong pair. I use those to cut leather and metal with. But basically, you want to cut a strip of it to the length or to the width of your sanding pen. So that's what I'm doing here. And you can make it as short or as long as you want, and I'll show that here how to put it together. And I keep it long, and then when the tip of it starts to wear down, then I just take it out of the groove and move it around, and then redo it. See here, you put it in the groove first, which I didn't put it all the way in the groove. You want to put it all the way in the groove and make sure that it's in there nice and tight. You don't want it to be loose. You want it to be very tight around that. Here I am taking the push pin, and I'm just arbitrarily putting a place near it, kind of in front of the groove rather than behind the groove, so you're not using as much sandpaper. And I'm just going to tap it. You can drill a hole if you feel more comfortable drilling. I just found that it's easier to tap it in with a small hammer. And as you can see, the push pin there has the tip of it cut off. You don't want it to go all the way through, so it's only going in about 1/4 of an inch through the whole thing. And make sure you mark on the side of it, which I do here, where the hole is at. I had a hard time finding the hole through the sandpaper, which I end up marking it here in a second, you'll see. So now with the hole marked, I can push the pin through the sandpaper to hold it in place. Now, as you can see, it's not that tight on the bottom part of it. It's kind of loose. Not that part that I'm holding, but... And that's how you put it together. But you want to make sure that it's, like I say, tight and all the way into the hole, because otherwise the sandpaper will slip out. See, I didn't have it far enough down in that groove. So now I gotta take it all apart, do it again. But if you leave a length of the sandpaper out like I have there, as soon as the tip of it wears off, you can just cut off the end of it that's in the slot and move it around the pen a little bit, so you've got, can use more of the sandpaper as you're going. And once you have it nice and tight, you can do a fine tip with, like I'm doing there, using just the tip to get into tight places, or you can lay it flat on the, on the back, on the bottom of it, so that you're doing So here I am taking the other one and just sanding the other one a little bit flatter because it was kind of crooked. Or you can sand it flat that way, so you've got a little surface that you can use. So anyway, that's the sanding pen. It's, like I say, relatively simple but easy to use. Hope this helped. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can use it. Check out Steve's website and have a better day, as I always say.